We are back. We are what? I think I'm going to, for now on, just have an affectation for no reason.
Back.
You know, with all the only refugees they're allowing in are Afrikaners. So I may try and like create some type of South African affectation to my speaking. Lavender allergy. Well, people just really just. I mean, on one level, it's a little bit flattering that everybody so like it picks apart every aspect of.
You're very transparent about your weaknesses.
I am. It's true. Jody from Chicago. Sam, I got good news and bad news. Good news is Dick Durbin isn't going to run for re-election 2026. Bad news, I heard Rahm Emmanuel might want his seat. That is bad news. I'm glad Dick Durbin is stepping down. You know who else should step down? Chuck Schumer. Speaking of Rahm Emmanuel, we need to see more of this. Now, I don't know who this podcaster is, with all due respect. I don't know. I probably don't know 99.9% of podcasters who are not named Sam Seder or Emma Vigeland or Matt Leck or Russ.
Thank you.
But we need more of this. Whenever Rahm Emmanuel is on any show, he should be addressed in this way. And let me tell you something. I mean, Rahm Emmanuel took credit for the 2006 retaking of Congress by the Democrats. And you could not have been handed Congress on a bigger silver platter than Rahm Emmanuel was given. You had Bush's popularity plummeting because of the Iraq War and because of his attempt to attack Social Security and because of Hurricane Katrina. Then you had a Republican Party whose leadership was protecting a fellow congressman who they knew was trying to groom pages in Congress, a guy named Mark Foley. And they all knew it. And there was wide evidence of it. In fact, I can't remember the guy's name. Tom Reynolds, I think it was, in upstate New York, had a press conference where he surrounded himself with children and had to be asked at one point, could you ask the children to leave so we could ask you about this burgeoning scandal that crested in October? And Rahm Emmanuel took credit for winning these seats. And incidentally, the candidates that he got who got into those seats were garbage, largely garbage, because he only wanted people who could self-fund. Many of the problems the Democrats have today in terms of why they are ideologically tone deaf as to what was happening in the country over the course of the past 18 years, 19 years, is because of Rahm Emmanuel. Rahm Emmanuel was the chief of staff when Barack Obama decided to bail out the banks instead of homeowners. Rahm Emmanuel is the chief of staff when Barack Obama decided to skimp on the bailout in the wake of the financial crisis. Instead of going to $1 trillion where all the economists were saying you got to hit, he did $750 billion, 400 of which was just tax cuts, and tax cuts that were largely for wealthier people who are not going to go out and spend that money in the same way. So we have millions, literally millions of foreclosures in the wake of the financial crisis. We got a little bit of a crispiness. We have millions of financial foreclosures, and then we have slow growth over the course of the next 8 years because of how anemic the Obama administration's response was. And then I'll remind you, despite all that, they got clobbered in 2010. And over the course of Obama's 8 years, lost 1,000 statewide seats in government across the states. And 2010, mind you, also, that election is what crushed Democrats for the next decade because that's where all the redistricting happened. Rahm Emmanuel was as responsible for that stuff as just about any other individual except for Barack Obama, who hired him as his chief of staff. Then he went on to Chicago, privatized all sorts of stuff in Chicago, attacked the schools, got rid of all the parking meter revenue, handed it over to private interests.
What was the Laquan McDonald malfeasance?
Yep. Just a garbage man without picking up the garbage. I should say, like sanitation workers, my hat goes off to you.
Yeah, he creates garbage. He
Exactly.
doesn't get rid of it.
By garbage man, I mean like literally a man of garbage. Here he is on, what's the name of the show again?
This is, I've had it with, sorry. Who is it, Russ?
What number is this? Jennifer Welch.
Jennifer Welch.
Party that became an advocate for. We became not a party that was built on the culture of acceptance, but a party that became an advocate for certain things that, in my view, were just nuts. Nuts. Right. And they weren't core. Now, look, I think you pick. So you say to me, fight. Tell me what we're going to fight about. Because I'm not interested in fighting about.
I'll tell you what I think.
I'll tell you this. I said this just a minute ago to somebody else. We were really south on kitchen table issues. We weren't really good about the family room issues.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you 100
Okay, the only room we were do really well was the bathroom. And that's the smallest room in the house.
That is such bullshit. That is total bullshit. That is buying into the right-wing media narrative. And I'm so sick of Democrats like you selling out and saying this. You know who talks about trans people more than anybody? MAGA. MAGA is the most genital obsessed political party I have ever seen. Kamala Harris talked about home ownership. She talked about kitchen table issues. Trump's over there droning on about Hannibal Lecter. Are you kidding me? This is where the Democrats lose because we're playing the game with the rule book. They've ripped the rule book up and are cramming it down everybody's throat. And Democrats are upset because Joe Biden pardoned his son. We got to fucking fight. They're the gender obsessed weirdos, not us. We're the ones who fight for Social Security. We fight for Medicare. And yeah, we're not going to bully trans people. We're not going to fucking do it. Fine.
Hey, let me say this. As mayor, 2016, I dealt with the bathroom issue. It's just not my most important issue. It was dealt with, and I appropriately dealt with marriage equality, as I said.
Well, it's certainly important to the Republicans. For me, it's just important not to bully them. And I think this is the death knell of the Democrats. It upsets me. It upsets me so much because we live here in this red state, and you see the damage of it. When I see politicians that are supposed to be leaders in the Democratic Party buy into the narrative that Republicans have defined us by, instead of fighting and saying, you're the weirdos that are obsessed with it. Yeah, we're not going to bully some trans kid. And we buy into their narrative. It's why I think we lose. And I have to live in a state where rape victims can't get an abortion because of this bullshit. And so I'm going to fight till the bitter end, and I'm not going to let some MAGA moron define what progressive values are. And I think it's a really dangerous precedent, Mr. Emmanuel. I'm sorry, but I have to push back. And I'm not some coastal elite liberal.
Listen,
I don't know. Do we need to hear even more from him? I would say, well done, but F calling him Mr. Emmanuel. The fascinating thing too this is a big tell. And you see this with Hakeem Jeffries. You see this with guys like Rahm Emmanuel. The big tell for all of them is going on and talking about what Democrats should talk about instead of actually talking about what Democrats should talk about. It's all them becoming pundits. And instead of actually like, wait, kitchen table issues. What the F does that mean now? What was Mark Cuban talking about kitchen table issues? Yeah, Mark Cuban, like which kitchen table is Mark Cuban sitting at of his whatever 47 homes?
The granite countertop one?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, give me an effing break here. The problem, the Democrats did not lose. There is absolutely zero data that suggests an issue that all the exit polling showed, and even polling beforehand, voters were voting on trans issues as the 21st issue. Swayed the election. This is all just BS.
And it's great. I think I've never heard of Jennifer Welsh before, but apparently she does some sort of like interior design style reality TV, Sweet Home. I think she's from Oklahoma. And to say like, look at the comments here, Russ, if you can put these up. It's all things that we obviously agree with. This man is arrogant, delusional, and showing his privilege to say you can just move out of a state. I can't stand Rahm. He talks about education like it made a difference in Chicago. Closed a bunch of schools. He sounds like he's in the wrong party and he's disingenuous about it. I mean, it's wild. And this is like, again, this is not, MSNBC, from Manhattan. This is just a influencer from Oklahoma.
That's fantastic. Honestly, like any podcast that has that dude on, it doesn't treat him with that type of anger.
And she is on the front lines talking about like, yeah, being in Oklahoma, you see it more acutely what happens when you put wind in the sails of these bigots.
Yep. Winnie from Phoenix. Can I get a shofar for my partner Robin and I, who are married in a beautiful ceremony at Omega Mart on Sunday? What is Omega Mart?
Never heard of it.
No. There's no wedding like a trans NB wedding. Folks, thanks and hello to YouTube chat. Left is best. Love the roses. Teacher Dan 20, how scummy can these bags get? Pretty scummy. Dimpria. Sam, I just want to tell you how I'm feeling. Got to make you understand. Never going to give you up. Never going to let you down. Never going to run around, desert you. Never going to make you cry. Never going to say goodbye. Never going to tell a lie and hurt you. I just got rickrolled. Yep. People are like, what? How did you know that, Sam?
I feel like after the, House Judiciary Twitter account from the Republicans tweeted a Rickroll instead of the Epstein stuff, maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's over.
Nassau County spokesperson, in 2028, Dems don't vigorously run on arresting these authoritarian freaks, then they are so cooked. I feel like Dems should have a slogan, ran on a slogan of DOGE, Department of Greedy Executives, and constantly mention how it's defunding the VA.
It's a good turn of phrase.
Yep. Jump up link. Happy Friends Day Wednesday, folks. Recently, J.D. Vance went through a period of love bombing Europe, and it was really weird. In totally unrelated news, Canada and Portugal are openly entertaining canceling their F-35 orders and buying Swedish Saab Gripen, which has most of the same technical specifications as the F-35. It's amazing how pathetic Trump's little pets will be to prevent defense contractor shareholders from having to get a real job. Andy from Kansas City. DOGE is simply an FSB-style hacker army to steal our data on behalf of Palantir and Starlink. You may be right. Dave from upstate. Well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions and not Elon. Have you heard of Schrodinger's cat, Sam? Ask Matt. Yes, I have. Schrodinger's cat is
Something to do with physics, uncertainty principle, where
Yes.
you can't tell if the cat's alive or dead without observing it.
That's not the one. Right. Okay. What's the
And observing it makes some sort of change.
change? Right.
Yeah.
But wait, but there's another name for that too. I can't remember what that is.
The physics report.
Yes. Noah from Tampa. No doubt it was mostly buybacks. Splifflo, some YouTube super chatter is complaining that you guys aren't covering some sort of escalation in the India-Pakistan conflict. I haven't heard anything about this. Have you? I'm totally clueless, but they seem very concerned. I have not seen anything about that. I mean, I cannot tell you the pile of news stories I have that I just
I mean, Texas and North Dakota just did vouchers.
can't get to. It's crazy. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you. There's just so many stories, and trying to read into all of them, there's a lot of things we're not covering that I wish we could cover. Just even the story that I do read into.
J.D. Vance took his kids to go meet Narendra Modi, and so it must be really serious what's happening over there, or at least the White House seems to be taking it very seriously.
I mean, I think it's related to Kashmir and Hindutva and stuff like that.
Over the past 20 years, I think there was another instance where like Pakistan and India came very, very close to a conflict. I can't remember when this was. I feel like it was in the late aughts, maybe in the early teens. It's scary. They're both nuclear powers. Gold Rush John. Sam was part of the Warriors gang, the Arcade Phonies. Tony Tustix. Y'all should bring Gareth Gore back or Shannon Vivich to talk about the far right side of the Catholic Church again and their role in this current American situation. Yeah, did you take a note for that the other day? You okay? Gareth Gore or Shannon Vivich. Just put that on a list somewhere. Jersey Bernie bro. Sounds like all lives matter and reverse discrimination weren't actually what the right cared about. Got to weed out the anti-white, anti-Christian discrimination only. Why a member of a protected group who didn't vote for Trump is probably shocked by this hypocrisy. Tippy Tappy Toe. Sam ruled the video arcade without ever setting foot there. Oh, I cannot tell you how much money I spent on the video arcades when I was a kid. The Dream Machine, downtown Worcester, Massachusetts, at the mall.
What was the high point of arcades?
I don't know. Because I probably...
So they're kind of past it even when I was like in the late 90s.
I guess. I mean...
Dave and Buster's.
Dave and Buster's not really an arcade. It's more like a kid's casino, because all they do is like gamble for tickets and go buy junk prizes. A real arcade when I was a kid it's all video games or pinball. But I would say like Zaxxon was probably close to the pinnacle of like the quality of video games that was there. Which is a flying game. And it was really genuinely like 3D. Super Zaxxon. And that was basically it.
It's probably good for like video gaming, which can be maybe a social. I am a video gamer, but can be a little bit social isolating for that to be in a
it was
sort
great.
Of common area.
You would go in there. I mean, you'd be in your own little world, but you'd be watching other people. This is sort of a brief, interesting story. There's been a lot of tornadoes in, what would you call that? The south, not quite west, but like I think it's like
Delta
a Tennessee
area?
Alley, I think they call it.
Mm-hmm.
Up through Arkansas and obviously Kansas and like parts of Tennessee and parts of Mississippi. I was a little bit concerned during vacation. just because, Saul's a little nervous about that stuff. And of course I am too.
Don't blame Saul.
Arkansas got devastated in March, apparently, by tornadoes. 3 people died. And as you know, Sarah Sanders, governor of Arkansas, was Donald Trump's first communications after Sean Spicer. I think maybe the second. Is that the role that she played? So, press secretary. And it's being reported that Sanders is begging Donald Trump to reconsider after President rejected Arkansas's request for disaster relief funds. And these tornadoes hit mid-March. Sanders wrote, "The sheer magnitude of this event resulted in overwhelming amounts of debris, widespread destruction of homes and businesses, tragic loss of 3 lives." Then a second wave of severe weather hit Arkansas less than 3 weeks later. Now, what's interesting is that back in 2023, apparently, she made a statement, as long as I'm your governor, the meddling hand of big government creeping down from Washington, D.C. will be stopped cold at the Mississippi River. And apparently, maybe that's what she meant, and Trump was just holding it there. But Trump, you will recall, tweeted out, "You know what? If they get hit with a tornado or something, let Oklahoma fix it. Then the federal government can help them out with money. FEMA's just getting in the way of everything." I actually think what Trump said when he got this request from Sanders is pretty obvious. I don't give money to 4s.
Yeah, put that in the 4 file.
She's a 3 or 4. I wouldn't even.
Let me know if Kirsty Noem needs anything.
Exactly. Sanders is always a 3 or 4. And I don't care how much Ozempic she takes. Still a 3 or a 4. That's it. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. Not going to do it for a 3 or 4. Jester from Jersey. Lately, I've been having a difficult time envisioning a better post-Trump government that isn't in some way guided, also like the right, by vengeance politics. Whoever is next in charge must bring the hammer down on Trump, Musk, and the rest of these conniving villains in the top cabinet. There's no reason to believe that what follows Trump is going to be any better than Trump. At the heart, I mean, the only difference will be is that I think like you will not get this 100,000% tariff on China on Monday. And then on Tuesday, I meant 43% on China. Like you'll get a little bit more consistency. But the fundamental part of what Trump is doing, the worst parts of it are by the Republican think tank apparatus, by the conservative movement. DOGE is just sort of like the top layer of the parfait, as it were, all resting on literally decades of conservative ideology. Elections are happening Monday in Canada. We played an ad the other day. Was it yesterday that we played this ad or 2 days ago?
On Monday.
Of 2 old guys golfing. And like
they're really hit hard by the economy in the sense that they have to pay for their children's down payments.
Yeah. And it was a sort of a fascinating sort of throwback ad that seemed like you could literally drop it in any context. It was the most sort of generic ad. And partly it was an attempt to basically just, let's put it this way. if you're a conservative and you are putting an ad out with two old golfers,
white guys.
Yeah, with two old white golfers in North America, you are basically saying we're bleeding our own people. And it was an incredibly, like, apparently a lot of people viewed this ad, but on the internet, hard to believe that it's like these old white guys, golfers, who are watching this ad. It's more people who are just sort of laughing at each other. Like, holy crap, did you see this ad where the guy hits the golf ball and at the end he goes like, makes a double entendre that you're voting for change, and also his drive was pretty good for a change. This was hilarious, great stuff. What's happened is that Donald Trump has poisoned the chances of the conservatives in Canada to take power, because anybody associated with and anybody who has espoused the sort of the value of Donald Trump is now like toxic. And of course, for those Canadians who thought their moment of redemption was upon them, Donald Trump has ruined it for me. And I'm going to go on Joe Rogan's show and complain about it. The country's in.
It's very sad, and I was hoping
they could be the 51st state.
Yeah, well, that's what happened. So two things.
Yes,
back to that.
That was the big one.
Carney showed up just in the nick of time to save the burning damsel from the train tracks, or whatever the hell it is, and
the rhetoric.
And then Trump, he just timed it so badly, and he didn't know. He didn't know what it would do. He didn't know, but that's also.
How do you not know that people have national pride?
Yeah, he knew that, but he didn't know what the electoral consequences would be. He didn't know that would shift them to the Liberals so radically. And he's going to pay for that, because once Carney is elected, if that happens, Trump will
Pause
not
it for a
have
second. I'm sorry. I can't go this long. Keep it up. Keep up that frame. I can't go this long without commenting on his suit. What is he trying to do?
I think he's supposed to be like a magician, but it's like every time he goes on.
I tried to pull a lobster out of my hat. I couldn't do it. Poor Trump. He didn't know. He didn't know what he was doing. And Carney comes in like Dudley Do-Right, saving the damsel from the train. Or whatever it is. I was
being a new candidate.
Just saving the damsel who, why does she put rouge on? Why does she have her pouty little lips with her red lipstick
She's trying to lure you to get hit by the train.
Attract Dudley Do-Right into front of the train to get hit by the train? Is that why? All right, go back a little bit. I'm sorry. I couldn't help it with that thing.
He knew that, but he didn't know what the electoral consequences would be. He didn't know that would shift them to the Liberals so radically. And he's going to pay for that, because once Carney is elected, if that happens, Trump will not have a more seasoned enemy in the West.
Boy.
Right? Carney's very well connected. Very. Especially in Europe.
I'm just also curious, why is Joe Rogan so sad about this? He's sitting there sighing. I mean, I know Joe Rogan's just an independent. He doesn't have any type of ideology.
Right.
He just seems very, very invested in Canada electing a conservative.
An enemy in the West is just such a weird way to think about this, but
in our own backyard. Well, not our backyard. I'm actually from Canada.
It's funny because it sounds like, to me, I know they're saying it as a bad thing, but it sounds to me like that's why Canadians are going to vote for him, is because he's a obstacle to Trump.
Yeah.
Trump will not have a more seasoned enemy in the West.
boy.
Right. Carney's very well connected. Very. Especially in Europe and the UK. Very well. So, and
Europe and the UK is a mess.
What are they even talking about? What does that mean? Like, it's very well connected. He's going to be the leader of a country that is subject to Donald Trump's tariffs, like the rest of Europe, and there's already a concerted effort to sort of reorient Canada to Europe.
And potentially China. And then who's the mess? Is it everybody else but us?
Like, I wonder also, yeah, exactly. Like, I wonder, like, I'm trying to even understand, like, what Rogan's trying to say there. He's connected to Europe and the UK. Yeah, and they're a mess. What is that? Okay. What does he mean they're a mess?
Like in terms of
the whole country is, the whole world is like worried about a global recession, if not depression, because of how much Trump has undermined the sort of stability of the world's economy. And with no seeming benefit to the United States, mind you. This is not a situation of like, hey, we no longer have to be the economic babysitter for the rest of the world at our expense. It is, we're no longer going to be the economic babysitter for the rest of the world, and we're going to also do it at our expense.
Yeah, we need a babysitter.
I mean, Trump's economy, his narrow economy, his family's economy seems to be doing quite well. Somebody certainly is like riding the wave on all this sort of stock market dips and whatnot. Go ahead.
That's for sure.
We've highlighted all the arrests in the UK over social media posts, and most people have no idea.
Wait, what? So Peterson, to his credit, he's dressed like a carny barker. However, I can see that when Donald Trump has gone off the rails and Canada wants to find a new import-export partner, it might be looking to the UK or to Europe. And I'll laugh along when Joe says they're a mess. And then Joe says people are getting arrested by social media posts. Wait, what? Oh, right. Right. And we wouldn't want Canada to have relations with what is it? Oh, you know what else is happening? And then if Joe's very worried about the people getting arrested for social media posts in UK, wait till he finds out what's happening in this country.
That's what I'm saying.
To people who are writing like op-eds or protesting against Israel's genocide. He's going to freak out once he reads the news. Go back just
what he's talking about in the UK is people that were spreading misinformation, hateful misinformation about Muslims, leading to riots. Just to be clear for folks, and overlooking the folks who want to oppose a genocide here and are getting detained by ICE over it. So,
yeah, you might say that.
Mess.
Oh, that's for sure.
We've highlighted all the arrests in the UK over social media posts, and most people have no idea. Konstantin Kissin is great with explaining all that to people. It's so funny when he compares it to Russia. Yeah. And he says how many people got arrested in Russia. How many people you think got arrested in the UK? And most people are, none, right? Yeah. No, 4,000.
Yeah.
Like what?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's unbelievable.
There's videos all over the internet about it.
You just see this everywhere. So
and also, hold on for a second. Did you know that there are children who are identifying as cats? So much so that teachers having to put kitty litter in their classrooms I learned that from you, Joe. From your teacher friend. 4,000? There are no-go areas. Did you know that? No-go areas in Britain, too. Go ahead.
80-mile-an-hour speed limits everywhere. And so...
20 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, because, Joe...
That's a bike.
You don't really need a car. Like, what are you doing that's so important that you need a car? Like, if I have to go to a climate meeting, well, I get a car.
How did they go from this? I'm trying to play along with Joe saying that the UK is a mess and I don't know what he's talking about. So let's talk about all the congestion pricing in London. Good.
Speed limits everywhere?
Wait, go back.
And so,
most people are, none, right?
Yeah.
No, 4,000.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's unbelievable.
Well, there's videos all over the internet about it.
You just see this everywhere. So they've implemented these 20-mile-an-hour speed limits everywhere. And so...
20 miles an hour.
Yeah. Yeah, because, Joe...
That's a bike.
You don't really need
Pause
a
it
car.
for a second. Like, what is he talking about? 20 mile an hour in... We have 20 mile an hour speed limits in different parts of New York City. It's generally 25 miles per hour. And that's because... there's a lot of pedestrians and people get killed in the crosswalk.
I thought it was because we're really connected to Europe and the UK.
It's because we're a mess. It's because we're a mess. He's like implying like the highways in the UK are 20 miles an hour or something. I bet it's probably in downtown London. Which, incidentally, has one of the best subway systems. It's just crazy.
And, I'm looking into this thing about these arrests or social media related stuff. And I'm curious, like, I would like to see some examples of things that were egregious, because a lot of it seems to be stirring up hate against refugees or like harassment and stuff like that. And I think, like, looking at social media in America, I think there should be more of a look at like death threats and stuff shouldn't be allowed. We also do have the First Amendment, though, so that's one difference here. And yet it's not protecting, say,
Palestine folks. We've noticed the government is cutting. I don't know how this isn't more of a First Amendment, like just a slam dunk First Amendment. If you're cutting grants to universities because you don't like their policies in terms of like what dissent they do or do not allow on campus, that seems to me to be like a open shut case of a First Amendment violation. You cannot determine whether you're going to provide government grants or services based upon speech. Good.
Like, what are you doing that's so important that you need a car? Like, if I have to go to a climate meeting, well, I get a car. But the peasants, they don't really need cars. They don't need heat either. Not that much heat. Maybe they can stop grandma from freezing. One of the
fascinating things about Bernie Sanders and his anti-oligarch tour is they're doing it on private jets.
Yeah, right. yeah, exactly.
First off, Donald Trump has, will you Google that, please? Donald Trump has cut heat assistance for elderly programs in the course of DOGE. These guys are just like, the idea that heat is being cut from old people because of climate change, it's just bizarre. They're going to roll back the tax credits for things like geothermal and solar. If the Republicans get any opportunity to do so, they're going to do that. Guaranteed. The private jet thing, I would bet, is a lie.
There's some reporting on it, but is
that right?
Fox News.
What else we got here? Any more? Or is that it? Well, Russ's mic is muted, apparently. That's what the word on the street is.
Check.
Let's turn on the phones, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? 646-257-3920. 646-257-3920.
I'd also just say, if there is a reason to use private jets, that's one of them. If not, we should just ban them.
It could be a function of small airports with no, but I don't know. Here is Byron Donalds going to a town hall in Lee County, Florida. This is a very red district. But what's also fascinating about this is that it is, according to Nikki Fried, she's the chairwoman of the Florida Dems, 700 people in this auditorium, or at least there was room for 700 people. To be eligible to get into this room, you had to be a resident of the district. You could only sign up a certain amount of people per family. So you basically have a pre-screened audience. Again, deep red district, no outside the district people in there. And apparently Byron Donalds was not anticipating that his voters are a little angry with him.
Ask the question. Do you approve of Elon and DOGE invading our Social Security files?
All right, pause it for a second. The question was, do you approve of DOGE and Elon Musk invading our Social Security files?
Elon and DOGE invading our Social Security files.
Elon Musk and DOGE have been authorized by the President of the United States. Don't leave. Are you ready? You ready for the other half of it? The previous president, President Biden. So you don't want to hear, you do not want to hear the full story. You don't want to hear the full story. Allow me to educate and bring you the full story. And when you're ready, I'm going to tell you, because I don't want you to yell and not hear the full story. Because you're not listening, you're yelling. Here we go. I'm going to tell you the full story. Here's the full story. The previous administration, Joe Biden, he authorized 53 students to have access to the same database during his administration. 53. He authorized 53 students to have access to the Social Security database. And I didn't hear anybody being upset when Joe Biden authorized that. So how can you be upset when it's that versus Elon Musk? That is not true. Again, if you're going to have a conversation about policy, then answer the question. Chanting is not going to answer the question. Donald Trump authorized Elon Musk to have access. I agree with that. Do you know who else agrees with it? Joe Biden. Because Joe Biden gave similar access to 53 students during his administration. Do you want, this is my question for the audience. Do you want to yell or do you want to hear?
Oh,
Because if you
sounds like they want to yell.
Yeah, I think they've already answered that question.
I can't find any reference to students getting access to the Social Security database, but just generically speaking, a program that allows students to go in and do analysis of the Social Security database seems to be a vastly different cohort than people coming in who are slashing government agencies, attacking government agencies, and also looking to set up some type of payment system, and also misreading the Social Security database information that leads them to believe that there's a ton of 150-year-olds on the rolls and dead people who are not dead, who were cut off from Social Security.
Yeah, perhaps the bureaucrats or whoever Biden empowered, people react slightly different than the richest man in the world who has just conflicts of interest in every possible direction.
And what's also interesting to me is that, like, where were the complaints that people were getting cut off from Social Security when this was happening? Right. Maybe because it wasn't. Scary Mountain Wizard, what's he saying? I'm having a hard time hearing what he's saying. What's he saying? He's saying that, that DOGE was authorized by Donald Trump, and Joe Biden allowed students to look at the database. Go ahead.
Information. I told you, I'm going to be factual. But you can yell.
I'm going to be factual.
The truth is, Joe Biden gave similar access to the same database during his administration to students. So it's okay then, but it's not okay now. Everybody relax. Or the people who are upset with Elon Musk, was it okay when 53 students had the same access to the
is he saying the thing over and over again, or is
students,
it it's just repeating itself? That's what it was.
This is like, I mean, look, I'm not a father. This is like when I was a kid and I'm like, hey, James gets to stay up till 10:30. What's the deal with me having a 10 o'clock bedtime? Like, why is it good for him?
If this is your defense in a blood red district with a screened audience, calling from a 308 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, it is Kowalski from Nebraska.
Kowalski from Nebraska. Are you upset that I was calling for tilling? I was just using tilling as an example, and I know you're not supposed to really till your garden.
Oh no, you guys, you have your own practices in the Northeast. Look, I'll never tell you what to do.
My dad had me tilling the garden when I was a kid, and but then I've learned from Instagram that you probably should just let the soil. You shouldn't mess with the soil that much. Maybe add a little bit of nutrients.
It depends. It just depends on your practices. Like, for instance, on our soil, we have to do some form of tillage every 5 years, or all the phosphorus accumulates in the top 3 inches, and the roots don't acquire it as easily. So, I mean, it just depends on what you're doing.
Okay.
Nobody has all the answers.
Matt,
Anywho,
what's that? I'm getting that snappy thing.
There's some kind of interference with the phone audio cable. I'm going to look and see if there's a power something overlaying it.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. We got a little bit of technical issues, but go ahead, Kowalski.
Well, I thought I'd give a farm report since planting season's underway, and what better place to start than with the South American harvest. Pretty much is concluded. Brazil, I believe, has produced the largest soybean crop in history, which, hats off to them. All in all, South America has produced a bit more than I believe their historic averages collectively. However, with us going into La Nina, we do expect it to fall next year. About a month ago, we saw soybean prices plummet quite rapidly. Some of that had to do with Trump's trade war shenanigans. It's kind of like a natural disaster in that way, but a lot of it also just had to do with South America, growing this phenomenal crop. However, with La Nina, drought pressure is beginning to creep up, so next year their production is not anticipated at being as high, given how historically this has impacted things. We expect La Nina to bring more rain to Australia, could be flash flooding. We then expect there to be more rain in India. India's ag system is kind of its own thing. It doesn't really impact the broader planet. East Africa, though, is a hot spot to watch. There are 3 major issues there because this is going to bring drought conditions more than likely. And there is already a major disruption with food distribution, with Israel antagonizing the Houthis for reasons we're all aware.
Right.
But then we have the Sudanese civil war, which has displaced a lot of people. And we also have the Rwanda invasion of the DRC, which is this whole other thing, which is just disrupting people from farming. So there could be a lot of food pressure there. It looks like the French and the Chinese are going to be leading the food distribution efforts there, but we'll have to see. The loss of USAID there could be pretty bad if things get, I guess, historically hairy. But the impact here in the U.S. is we expect the upper, well, not necessarily the upper, I guess you could say the western part of the Midwest to be a little cooler, a little drier, the east to be a little cooler, but a little wetter. And then I don't know about the rest of the country because I've only been reading up on the grain side of things. So, yeah, things are looking like production will be fine. We might have some issues with distribution, and the trade war might cause the U.S. to, I don't know, have like a full-blown rural recession, even if the rest of the country doesn't. But
Right.
It's looking like we're all going to be in a sinking ship together. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, and that may
Hard
actually
to
be
bring
best
us
case
together.
scenario, based upon my understanding of how they're messing with payment systems. But Kowalski, one question from the IM. Since you're on the line, can Kowalski speak to the benefit of farm CSAs?
I'm not sure what that acronym is.
Really?
There's a lot of.
Isn't it like a share, community share, or something like that? So like the
There's
CSA.
a lot of acronyms, I feel.
Oh yeah, you don't know. It's this is like a local farm, small farm.
Community supported agriculture.
Yeah, it's like it's like when you sign up for a CSA and you get like, I don't know, 12 squash or all kale one week, or whatever they're growing.
I've never heard of this. I go to the grocery store. I guess. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, there is a question, though, I have for you when it comes to agriculture, though.
All right.
Just because it's a bigger industry. What is up with the bees?
I don't know. For years we were covering like the that bees were in danger, and this year, the past year or so, seems to be really problematic. Like it looked like there was.
Last thing I read was like 80% failure rates for a lot of colonies nationwide.
Yeah. I mean, it looked like there was a resurgence over the past couple of years, and I don't know. I have not seen like any type of viable theory other than like some type of virus.
Yeah, the only two things I could think of is some sort of disease or something associated with like a mild winter causing them to come out and then die when it refreezes. Because as bad as insecticides and other herbicides and pesticides have been, you wouldn't expect this to just happen out of the blue all at once.
Right. No, you wouldn't expect it would be on a sort of a trajectory. There's been no, as far as I can tell, there's been no new big pesticide that has been rolled out this past year.
To the best of my knowledge, we've been reducing pesticides nationwide.
Yeah.
So, it is concerning because for those who are unaware, bees and other pollinators, for fruits and vegetables, it's like 70% of them being able to be pollinated, I believe. They're pretty much essential for apples.
Yep. I mean, I have seen people take puffers to apples lately and blow the pollen around.
Well, good. We'll have an AI robot just, spreading pollen around. It'll be a proprietary thing where we'll have to pay now to get pollination so we can have fruits. Late stage capitalism, folks, hats off. We did it. We have literally destroyed God.
Yep. Kowalski,
Well, on
appreciate
that
the call.
happy note,
Yep.
I hope you have a good one.
All right, bye-bye. Still getting that little thing. Did you try the plug going into this?
I can refresh it here.
No, I think that did it. Or did you just turn it down?
Oh, no, it did.
That seems to have done it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Calling from a 201 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Is this me?
It is you. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Sam. This is the Jester from Jersey.
The Jester from Jersey. What's on your mind?
So what is on my mind? I wanted to share a kind of sarcastic, perverse thought. It's funny to me that this second Donald Trump administration, in a funny way, is actually making me incredibly patriotic. Because when I see all the violations of the Constitution that are going on, it's really making me very upset. And I think one of the things that I find really effective about Bernie Sanders' Fight the Oligarchy tour is the purposeful hearkening back to moments in American history. The Address of Gettysburg, the Civil Rights Act, things like that. And I think that the left should just, as a tool in our tool belt to win over people rhetorically, to really emphasize our history as Americans, and that this is a liberal democracy, not liberal in the pejorative sense that conservatives have made the term liberal into over the past who knows how many years, but liberal as a philosophical, political ideology. But I mean, then again, of course, we could do better than liberalism, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think, look, we've seen attempts at that that were not terribly effective in the run-up to the election, at least. But I mean, I think there's been a fresh reminder for folks that just what it feels like in practice. So maybe that'll be helpful. But appreciate the call.
Yeah, absolutely. Big fan of the Majority Report. You guys are angels of the Enlightenment. God bless you all.
Thanks. Very nice.
Got to get our Angels of the Enlightenment merch up in the store.
That does sound like a good catchphrase. Well, in very narrow circumstances, maybe.
Take it from Steven Pinker.
Is that guy still around?
Kind of been quiet for him.
I don't hear anything about that guy anymore. Also, you know who I haven't heard from in a long time is what's up with the Daily Wire? Are they still in business?
I think they're having a fire sale.
Should we do Maki or either of these? Oh, here we go. Let's go with this guy. Medicaid coverage. One of the things that Medicaid cares for in almost every state in the country is postpartum care. For those of you who are unfamiliar with what postpartum means, that means after birth care. Now, of course, right-wingers are very concerned about the babies, as we know. They're very concerned about children's health, and forcing women to carry pregnancies, really, in just about any circumstance possible.
Also, just note, Wisconsin, one of 2 states that hasn't extended postpartum Medicaid coverage to a full year, the other being Arkansas.
And why might that be? Well, here's Wisconsin Assembly Speaker Robin Vos explaining why why Medicaid should not provide care. Now, look, this is just well, go ahead, play this.
The Senate is hearing on the postpartum Medicaid extension bill today. You said last session you're not going to bring it before the Assembly. Any thoughts on that for this session?
No, I mean, I guess we're going to see what happens, and we'll see where the Senate votes are. We've not had the discussion this session yet about postpartum. My position's been fairly clear from the very beginning. I've never supported an expansion of welfare. I can't imagine that I would ever support one. But we have to talk about it as a caucus, see what everybody else is.
The Senate is.
I mean, this is their perspective. That covering postpartum care is just an expansion of welfare. And you know the type of people that are on welfare, so.
Something like 40% of births in America are covered by Medicaid. It's closer to 50% when you get to rural areas. Which Wisconsin has.
Interesting. Yeah, there are some... Now, Wisconsin, we should also say, is one of the states that has not expanded Medicaid under the ACA.
And I saw some of that, they call it Badger Care there. And, that
Badger Care was, in fact, rolled back during Scott Walker's tenure.
Oh, yeah.
It was cut. That was one of the things that people were protesting.
I think I understand the impulse to brand it something more locally flavored, but I also think it might not be the best sort of political education.
However, there is apparently and we should be clear that in the Senate, not the Assembly, there was a unanimous passage of the bill to expand Medicaid coverage. So he may not even bring it up. It really is amazing.
Incentivize Foxconn, though.
Exactly. That didn't work out so well. DSA, Aaron in Atlanta. I work in pest control. I see way less bees this year. Calling from a 919 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, this is Alexa calling from North Carolina.
Alexa from North Carolina. What's on your mind?
So I called in to talk about the bees. I was actually already on the line to talk about planting with native plants and why that's so important. But a huge reason that we have lost bees is because of loss of habitat. So as we develop the country more and more, people put in grass and landscaping plants, and we've removed fire from the landscapes. So most of the country should be prairies, but instead now it's forest. And so the bees don't have anywhere to overwinter. Our native bees don't form hives the way that honeybees do. They overwinter in stems. And so when people clear out their gardens, when there's just not woody perennials growing because it's all forest, there's nowhere for the bees to overwinter. And so we end up in a situation where we have this huge collapse of pollinators. And then other pollinators get swept away when you get the leaves out of your yard. So the best thing you can do if you want to help the bees is to plant native plants and to leave the leaves that fall.
But why, but why are we seeing the potential of 70 to 80% losses in this 1 year?
So there's a few contributing factors, and I guess we have to draw a distinction between European honeybees, which are an invasive species, they're an agricultural animal, and our native bees.
Okay.
And so honeybee colony collapse, there's mites, there's viruses, and then there's some stuff that we don't fully understand. But then our native bees, it really is that loss of habitat as we develop more and more. And now, we're going to lose a lot of federal lands so that we can drill oil because what we need is more oil and less federal land.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, when we're talking native bees, are we talking like carpenter bees, bumblebees? Are we talking wasps
we
are not bees, right?
We have a couple hundred species. So they would still be considered a pollinator, and we have a couple hundred species of native bees in America. And so all across the country, they all kind of need the same stuff, which is, again, those stems from woody perennials. And so in the spring, when you see the bees start to emerge, if you cut them back 1 to 2 feet above the ground, then the bees can go in there and lay their eggs, and then you leave them over the winter so that the bees can do their thing.
And what are woody perennials? Like, give us some examples.
Like a purple coneflower or wild bergamot. That's one of my favorite native plants. But anything, and it's really, really important to buy native plants. A lot of the plants that you get at like Home Depot are hybrids that might not even have pollen in the flowers. Like most sunflowers that you see don't actually have pollen.
Interesting. Okay. Well,
yeah, and so it really is this habitat loss. There's no food. There's nowhere for them to overwinter. There's also some disease pressures. The honeybees have brought in mites that are now attacking our native bees. And so planting native plants like prairies are actually a better carbon sink than even an old growth forest.
Interesting.
So,
I did not know that.
Yeah. Plant native, it's the best thing you can do for the bees. And I know I personally have been on this journey for about 5 years, and I've seen hundreds of species of insects come back to my yard. And now we have more birds, and it's just really beautiful to see.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Well, I appreciate it. Where's a good resource for people to find out about native plants?
Yes, so the Lady Bird Johnson website has lots of information about plants that are native to you. And if you just Google, native plant nurseries near me, you'll also be able to get a lot of good information.
Lady Bird Johnson? Oh, Lady Bird Johnson.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, wait, Lady Bird, is that some type of plant? And there's Lady Bird Johnson.
Yeah,
as in
the
LBJ's,
website. It has all the
as a former first lady. Okay, interesting. I had no idea. Was she into native plants?
And then if you're so there's a registry of native plants on that website. And then if you're interested in edible plants, Sam Thayer has wonderful books about foraging.
Excuse me? Sam Thayer?
Yes, Thayer.
Oh, Sam Thayer.
Yes.
Okay.
And so you can look up what's native to you and plant that. So we've got like some mountain mints that are medicinal and passion flower and all that stuff.
Oh, that sounds good. All right. Appreciate the call.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for all that you do.
Well, thank you for the call.
You guys have a good.
We used to do a lot of bee coverage early on in this iteration of the show.
Makes me wish I had a yard to let get overgrown.
And Dave from Jamaica chimes in. That call was the bee's knees. Jermo, great show. Jermo! All right, one final call of the day. Calling from a 719 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Christian from Colorado.
Christian from Colorado, you are the final caller of the day.
Thank you. I am calling, I'm a local elected official here in Colorado, and I wanted to discuss, well, first of all, just give people some words of encouragement. I'm actually going to be out of my term here at the end of this year. I started when I was 22, so I got elected into office when I was 22. So
wow.
If you're young and you're considering running for local positions, it is possible. I'll say, of course, it's easier when you live in a rural town, but, definitely do consider it. I think it's been an experience for me to kind of learn what local government really does and how it works and how it influences people's lives in such dramatic ways that I would have never imagined before.
Well, give me one example of what was really surprising to you.
Yeah, so a big reason why I ran is housing, for local housing. Here in my county, a lot of the people who are elected were, people who already owned their homes and have lived in the community for quite some time. And the misconception of who is it that's looking for housing, who we should cater to is just massive, right? So a lot of these affordable housing projects would be targeted towards people making, well over what the vast majority of people actually were making. So being involved had it to where me being involved, basically, I was one of the only people actually arguing against the idea that affordable housing is not 200% area median income and actually should be significantly lower. And we were able to lower that to 140, which is still relatively high, but 140% AMI. But that's
what were people thinking about with 200%?
Their own income. So, what they and their families can support. That, I think the often argument that they got away with was this idea that somehow families, because the way AMI is calculated doesn't double when you have two family households. They had this broken conception of the more people in the home, theoretically, it should keep doubling the income. So 200% AMI is actually more accurate to a family income. Obviously, it's not true, and anyone who looked into anything would know that the area median income is based off of a lot of information that we're not privy to as local electeds, and we're supposed to trust that. And, looking at best practices and all that will obviously guide you towards lower AMIs being a little bit more effective for actual affordable housing. So it's just people who really don't know what they're doing, lacking the research, taking other people who have either nefarious intentions or any other thing, just their own personal intentions in mind. And that happens a lot in small rural communities. Actually, in our housing authority, we have 2 builders / developers on the regional housing authority, which is just batshit crazy to me.
My experience with local government is that there is a significant percentage of people who participate in it, particularly rural areas, where it's this is just an extension of their business.
Fully.
It's just this is a way for me to network. I throw stuff to my friends and it comes back around. It's almost sort of like a soft kickback business.
It certainly feels that way. I mean, we have, small business owners who are on council. We have, I was just mentioning 2 builders, people who are literally making for-profit buildings on the Regional Housing Authority, which is supposed to be the entity that's creating these, the solutions to the problem that they are basically causing. And while even if individually they have well intentions, that I don't necessarily fully believe that, but they ultimately will serve their interest, right? Actually, I was threatened to be kicked off of that for being an employee of a nonprofit that was doing affordable housing. And I was threatened to be kicked off while the 2 who actually owned entire businesses based off of creating profit were continuing to be on there. So, a lot of intricacies with all that, but I fully agree that in at least my community, and I can only speak for mine, of course, it does feel often that this is the idea that public-private partnerships are the gold standard and everything we should follow, the idea that we should do everything to uplift local business owners is just so prevalent. And if people don't get involved in your small rural communities, that's what you're kind of left with. Obviously, there's a million other issues that go on, but, accessing benefits in Colorado specifically, local benefits are fully controlled by the county. We're actually one of the worst. I think we're the 13th worst county in terms of our SNAP access. Wow. In the nation. So, lots of influences that are to be had at local government that can genuinely influence people's lives. So I'd highly recommend people get involved, especially if you're living in a rural community.
How hard was it?
Easier than you think.
Okay, that you answered my question. Easier than you think. Well,
I mean, still beholden to national politics. I actually ended up losing my election running for county commissioner last year, in large part due to the previous Democrats that were elected onto that position, just doing nothing really for 8 years. So kind of left with that baggage. And of course, it's interesting. I'd say the biggest influence that anyone can have in a rural town is door knocking. More than cities more than anything else. Just going out and meeting your neighbors, working with them, it does absolute wonders. I actually work for an organization where I do direct service for people, get them connected to bill payment assistance, that type of like community care and work with the community, like really helps people feel like you're, actually there for the right reasons, as I hope you would be if you're involved in that type of work.
All right. Well, appreciate it. Thanks for the call. Great call.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. Folks, that signals the end of our call-in portion of the program. Read a couple IMs and get out of here. Carolina Jeff, repeat message. Big push to disenfranchise people in North Carolina. The Election Access Committee meets tomorrow. Republicans are trying to ram through changes made by the SAVE Act. If you're in North Carolina, go to progress.win/EAC. Leave a comment. That is progress.win/EAC. Russ, put that in the show notes, please. Progress.win/EAC. If you're in North Carolina, to stop the disenfranchisement of voters there. Jay Tingle, Lady Bird wanted to beautify the nation's burgeoning highways by promoting planting of wildfires. She got a lot of ribbing at the time, but later Bill Moyers explained that she was promoting an inexpensive and vital means of doing what the caller was talking about. Snarkorsky, I assume woody plants would be non-grasses, but not shrubs either. Plants with stiff, quasi-woody stems that persist over winter. Cone flowers, like the caller said. Yarrow, probably daily stems, and hollyhocks. Here we go. Pace Lowell. Won't the expansion of logging and deforestation result in less habitats for bees to overwinter? I mean, apparently, maybe not. John Mike, CBS has a story about Hegseth ordering the creation of a makeup studio next to the Pentagon press briefing room.
Sometimes you look a bit flushed.
Autistic Goblin. Sam, I'm genuinely scared. Is RFK going to send me to a work farm for being autistic? I'm only like 10% joking. Really disgusting. It's so
desire to catalog.
I wouldn't worry about that at the moment, but it is. I don't think it's. It's effed up. Medium literacy. With not knowing what a CSA is, I think the entire Majority Report audience now better understands why I ran for office as a Republican. Whoa. He's a real farmer. He ain't doing these boutique farms that we have like up
a hobby
in the
farm,
Northeast.
Fainting goats and whatever.
Leftist bastard. On his podcast, Rogan made it like he was concerned that unlawful arrests of pro-Palestine activists. Then a week later, he was bro-hugging Donald Trump with smiling ear to ear at a UFC event. He's all about sensationalism while standing up for absolutely nothing. Yes, and he's a bit of a coward, I think, too.
I mean, so a lot of people in our field of business clipped a bit of Joe Rogan saying this seems concerning without playing the full thing where he goes on to say, I think this is all sort of an Soros-style op, and people need to, frankly, do better.
Future reactionary. Schrodinger's cat is a way to understand quantum states and quantum computing, understanding how things can exist in multiple states simultaneously, and you can only learn the state when you observe it. So it's not the one. What's the one? I want to say it's not.
Is it Heisenberg's uncertainty
Heisenberg,
principle, where you can only
where
know
if
the
you
position,
observe something, it changes.
You can only know the position or the velocity, but not both at the same time. And I definitely know what that means.
Bipolar Bear. Sam, you should try and get Jordan on the show so you can get one of those ridiculous suits. And the final IM of the day. Quinn in Chattanooga. Rahm Emmanuel goes on in that interview to tell the host that if she doesn't like living in a red state, she should just move. F that guy.
My God. I mean, is he just a Republican? Like,
it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. All right, folks. Emma will be here tomorrow. I will see you the day after. Bye-bye.